All right, let's bring the Wednesday, June 24th, 2020 Dune City Council regular session to order. We have a roll call, please.
Mayor Forsyth,
Here.
Council President Sheldon Meyer,
Present.
Councilor Duke Wells,
Here.
Councilor Bob Orr,
Here.
Councilor Susan Snow. Here. Councilor Mallon is absent and excused, and I still have no idea where Councilor Montgomery is.
Montgomery is it. All right, would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I would accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. This motion I would, or at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Hearing none. It's approved.
May I?
Announcements? Yes, go ahead.
I missed all of, well, I'll get them off the tape. Not like I don't know what you guys sound like.
By now? Yeah, I guess. Announcements. Jamie?
We're still accepting applications for Volunteer of the Year, and nomination forms are available on the Dune City website, or you can call us and we'll email the form to you. We have one opening for appointment to the Planning Commission for the term ending January 12th, 2022, and 2 openings on the Budget Committee. This would be a good time to get on the Budget Committee because they won't do anything for a while. They just got finished with budget. There will be a special session, and please mark your calendars, of the Dune City Council held on Wednesday, July 8th at 5 p.m. for consideration of the fiscal year 2021 budget. I couldn't get notice in the paper fast enough. So it's going to be put off for a week. That means if you want to get paid for any reason from the city, you have to do it like, this week.
Wednesday.
Monday and Tuesday of next week.
Wednesday, July 8th, you said?
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Okay.
And other than charter has now changed for the Pac-10 football to a different channel. So it may not be on your regular channel, you have to go look for it. I have it, if you want to call me, I'll tell you what channel it is.
All right, citizen input. Do we have anybody sign up to speak?
Yes.
Scott,
That's me.
come on up.
I'll confess I've never been to one of these meetings, so where do you want me? Just right here?
Yep, that'll work.
So I have 3 minutes.
Sure.
First and foremost, I want to introduce myself. Some of you might have seen my name because I bought a house on Willoughby Lake on Alder Drive, I think in February. And probably a week after I bought the house, I had only been there once, and I got a complaint letter from the council that a neighbor turned in a complaint about me. Apparently, I have a yard light that was left on, and I should have brought the letter, but it basically said that Mr. Vollmer's light is on all the time, and it's annoying because it shines in our house and this kind of thing. The interesting thing was, I'd only been in the house once, and I was flipping switches in the garage, not trying to figure out what they were doing, and didn't even realize I turned the light on. That was at 4:30 one afternoon. I was back at the house at 8 o'clock the next morning, realized the light was on, turned it off. So it was on for 15 hours, and I got a complaint. Now, I just blew this off, thinking no big deal, okay? And I didn't even know for certain who made the complaint to you guys about me, but I had a pretty good idea. Now I have an even better idea because the same gentleman, at least that I assume, sent me a very, very nasty letter just a few days ago that I brought with me, and I'd read it to you guys if you would like. If not, no big deal. But it basically accused me of more things. Like he said I'm running a hotel out of my house that's not conducive to the small community we live in. Commercial activity is outrageous. Plus, the next time you give your tenants directions to your house, you should give them better directions because they keep turning around in my driveway. He lives at the end of the road. And they chipped my retaining wall, and by the way, my lawyer is going to send you a bill showing you your financial liability. Well, here's the interesting thing. I have not rented my house out to anyone. No tenants. No one was in the house the night he said that happened. So I just want you to understand, if you know the letter that I'm referring to, the gentleman that sent this to me, and like I said, I'd be happy to share the letter with you if you want that he sent to me, but he's just, he's making assumptions based on factless data, okay? I have at least 4 cameras at my house because I do not live there. I live in Florence. I live actually 1.8 miles away from the house as the crow flies. I have at least 4 cameras on the house, and I just say at least 4 because I don't want everybody to know how many cameras I have because I have some that are hidden. But I have a camera that covers my driveway, my dock, the deck around the house and everything. And I went back after he told me this, and I asked him what kind of car was it that smashed your retaining wall. He said it was a green Subaru. I went back and looked. There were no green Subarus that pulled into my driveway. So I don't know the person he's talking about. No idea. Anyway, so I'm letting you guys know this because I anticipate more activity.
Sure.
And so if this gentleman comes and complains about the house at 84-290 Alder Drive, which is my place, I've had this conversation with all of you, and I would just hope that you see I'm not that bad of a guy, and if there's a problem, talk to me about it. Obviously, he doesn't want to do that. So that was really all I wanted to say.
Okay, does Jamie have a copy of the letter?
No, but I brought the letter with me. I don't want to give it to you because it's my only one, but
Right.
if you want to make a copy of it, I can give it to you. Yes.
Would appreciate it.
I'd like to have a copy of it.
Yeah, he was less than polite.
You guys want a copy of it
Yeah, I
too?
do.
Yeah.
Okay. I will let you know that the Planning Commission is looking at changing our code with regard to outdoor lighting.
I have it over here. Yeah.
And so they'll be having public hearings and things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, anytime something like that comes up, jump right on it, get to Jamie, get to us. Most of the time, I think things can be resolved by quick communication and
I appreciate it.
that's the only one on the list. Old business. Jamie's in the back, but she'll update us on the retaining wall project, how that's coming. And Scott,
Thank you.
come on back to our normal meetings. About the only time we get to know people is when they come in and have something that comes up and then they never come back. But I really would encourage you to get involved in the community, even if your permanent resident isn't in the community. Scott, do you rent the house out ever?
I bought it in February. But no one stayed there. I never rented it out. My wife and I and kids haven't even stayed there because with COVID-19, Sears was closed. It took me 2 months just to get a refrigerator in the house.
Yeah.
I still don't even have a bedroom outfit in the house. I do plan on renting it out, but not as a short-term rental. I actually have a tenant that I'm going to rent it to from September to May, and then I'm going to have it back next summer. So I have not rented it out to anyone. And that's why I say this gentleman says I'm running a hotel there and commercial activity, and it's not conducive to our small neighborhood.
I was just asking because we are getting ready to, the community is looking at short-term rentals, the issues that it causes, creating vacation rental rules and things like that. So if you were thinking about short-term, it's a good time to get involved. If it's not a short-term thing, that's not going to affect you.
Okay.
Thank you. Update on retaining wall monitoring project. It's a wall, it's a monitoring, and it's a project.
And it's a project. And it involves a geotechnical engineer
Ah,
who originally quoted us, as you'll recall, $1,400 for the first visit and $700 for the next, for every year, for the next 5 years, I believe is how many years it was. On the mayor's advice, I spoke to him again, so it is now down to $350 for the initial and $350 per visit, so.
Yeah, this one has 700 for the initial.
I know, I've got,
Oh, but it
I'm
is
waiting for the
350?
other one to get back.
Okay.
Because-
Okay.
Yeah, it was really interesting. He told me 700 and then 700 for the year, and then the next time I called him, he said, you know, I can go 350 on that.
Oh, nice. So
All right,
350,
another
350.
agreement.
Okay.
And you just need our okay on that, or you got that?
No, I've got it. That's fine. That's fine.
because once it gets down below that dollar amount, it's, she has the authority to do that, so. It's, plus it's always, you know, just my nature, it's always without, alls I asked Jamie to do was go back and say, you know, is this your, you know, best and final offer? The guy cuts it in half, so, it's just,
Oh, I also told him that that's what was being
well,
requested.
sure. But, you know, my point is that we tend to go through life and pay what people ask us to pay, and then there's those of us that go, really? And that's what I did for 43 years. Okay, resolution 2020, number 8.
As you'll recall, this came before you before, and there were questions raised about why they didn't prefer binding arbitration and just went.
Mediation and
suggested.
arbitration, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did ask, and I believe I forwarded you the copy from
Yeah.
the district attorney's office, and it's just because that's what they do.
They, my history has shown that through contracts, typically when you have a contract, it'll, especially with governmental agencies, they'll say if you can't reach agreement, then they want to go to mediation and/or arbitration, and that the ruling on mediation would be final. And the way that the county wrote their contract was a may instead of a will. You know, we may, as a, you know, both parties may do this versus a will do this. I hadn't seen that before. Jamie, at my request, asked them why. They sent a decent explanation as to why. They've just found in their history that it's actually cheaper to do arbitration and be done with it than, you know, doing the mediation part of it. And I don't know that I agree that it's necessarily cheaper, but then I also haven't done that in 20 years. So, you know, it wasn't a deal breaker. It was just, I was more curious as why they wouldn't just arbitrarily say, okay, you know, whatever the mediator says is thank you. So they sent a good explanation. But then again, I get, as you guys do probably too, I get really cautious when making contracts with the county and what they'll live up to and what they want. So, but it's, again, not a deal breaker. They satisfied my.
I have a question.
Sure.
Since I wasn't here last month, what can they do for $5,000 a year since it's $5,000 a year is the limit?
It's road maintenance.
I know, but what
Brushing
can
and
they do
sweeping.
for $5,000?
They used to do all of our roads and brushing and sweeping for $3,000.
Huh.
And then we fired them. I've been trying to get them back ever since. So it comes back at 5,000. So yeah, for all the brushing and sweeping.
So it's brushing and sweeping it, but this talks about road maintenance in it.
Oh, that is the road maintenance. It's brushing and sweeping.
You're asking about road maintenance like paving, filling potholes.
Yeah, that's not road maintenance to me, and it's not defined, so.
Well, if I need them to fix something and I don't have Richard around or another way to do it, then yes, they will, and we'll get billed for it.
So basically,
If
they don't
it's
take
an
care of their
emergency.
roads very well.
Say what?
They don't take care of their roads very well.
Well, their roads are fine. No, this is a contract for them to take care of ours.
Oh, yeah. No, they don't take care of theirs.
Because it says operational maintenance. To me,
And it's on a will call basis.
it's not
so-
operational maintenance, but
But if they if I've got a pothole that is causing vehicle damage, and sometimes they do get to that point, then they will come out and fill that pothole for me on an emergency basis.
okay, so this is just sweeping.
Sweeping and brushing, which is the most expensive thing we do.
Except for paving.
Roads, when we do road maintenance, is generally the whole road, a particular road, we pick one.
Oh, I understand that, that's why I was going, what can I do for $5,000 since it said road maintenance? Road maintenance means maintaining the road, not keeping it clean.
Did you need anything else on the number 8 agreement? Since the only thing that held it up was me asking about the,
No, I need approval to go ahead. I mean, you'll need to adopt the resolution.
that's what I'm saying. No. Anybody have concerns with the IGA with Lane County? Besides me? If not, let's,
Need a motion?
okay. I have a motion, I'd entertain a motion to accept the IGA with Lane County for road maintenance services.
So moved.
Second. Further discussion? Any? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's passed.
On the next item, I'd
Yes.
like to pull it from the agenda.
Okay,
There is another, in order to do all that, I mean, you could go ahead and adopt this, but to do that, she included the repeal of the prior public contracting code, and I have to do at least a month's worth of publication before we can bring on the whole ordinance in the first place. And I hate to leave it a whole month with no code in place. So just pull it for
all
now.
right.
You could give me 2 years to read that, and I still wouldn't.
That's the public contract, yeah, I know, I mean, well,
So, it doesn't matter.
our mayor read it. Because he's a contractor on it.
Contracts are fun.
I get the crib note version.
Okay, so that takes out C.
The public hearing on Resolution Series 10, certifying that Dune City provides for municipal services, and also directing acceptance or accepting state shared revenues. Guess I should read it right off of the thing.
So don't we have to open a public hearing?
You do. This is a new requirement by the state, and has to be done in 2 public hearings. You'll recall that we did one in the Budget Committee as a public hearing, and now we have to do it before the City Council.
Okay. So why don't I just read this, I mean, it's a page long, right? That's
Right.
it. All right, so we close the regular hearing, or the regular meeting and open a public hearing, right?
Right. And if you
Okay.
don't-
All right, so at 6:20, we'll close the regular city council meeting and open the public hearing on resolution series 2020 number 10, certifying that Dune City provides for mutual services at the same time at 6:20.
And
Right.
and declaring the city's election to receive state revenue.
Right, I'm going to read the whole thing.
Okay.
So rather than abbreviating, it's very short, so let's read it. So this is the resolution series 2020, number 10, the resolution certifying Dune City provides for municipal services emulated in section 1 or ORS 2021.760 and declaring the city's election to receive state revenues. Whereas ORS 2021.760 provides as follows. Section 1, the officer responsible for dispersing funds to the cities under ORS 323.455, 366.75 or 85 to 366.820 and 471.805 shall, in the case of city located within the county having more than 100,000 inhabitants, according to most recent federal decennial census, disperse such funds only if the city provides 4 or more of the following services: police protection, fire protection, street construction, maintenance and lighting, sanitary sewers, storm sewer, planning, zoning and subdivision control, 1 or more utility services. And whereas city officials recognize the desirability of assisting the state officer responsible for determining the eligibility of cities to receive such funds in accordance with ORS 221.760. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the city of Dune City hereby certifies and provides these following 5 municipal services implemented in section 1 ORS 221.760. We're saying that we, number 1, enhanced fire protection through agreement, and we do through the local fire department, street construction, maintenance and lighting, storm sewers, planning, zoning and subdivision control, and water utilities service through, I keep calling them South Coast, but they're not anymore. What are they?
Well, no, our water utility service is the Dune City Shared Domestic Water.
Oh, that's right, because we get the permits to.
Right.
Got it, all right. They use our,
That community service wouldn't have water.
wouldn't have that, that's right.
Exactly.
Be it further resolved that the city of Dune City hereby elects to receive state revenues for fiscal year 2019, 2020.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rapunzel pointed that out. That's the wrong year.
I would think
So
so.
I need a motion to amend it.
Right. So, discussion on this, or in any public input, anything?
Public input first.
Anybody? Nobody? Anybody up here? Anybody, well, in Bob's case, anybody down there?
Susan's down here
Oh,
too.
No, Susan's not down there, she's way over there.
So I would make a motion to approve resolution 2020, number 10, with the change of the fiscal year from 2020 to 2021.
Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. And at 6:25, we will close the public hearing. And at 6:25, we'll reopen the city council meeting of June 24th, 2020. New business. Oh, scratch 254.
We just did the other.
We just did the number 10, ordinance 255.
This one is going to also be pulled off and needs more work.
Okay.
I wasn't going to put it on there at all. I put it on because I don't want to wait another month. I was waiting for a response from our attorney, and the attorney says where this is way overreaching for what it is that we really want. What we need is preferably a municipal easement, a public utility easement, so that we can have access to the outlet control structure
okay, got it.
for maintenance and our work, all the things that we're required to do. The property owner has been reluctant to provide that easement, so I was contemplating finding out how to split off a piece so that they could be compensated for it, and with agreements, put, conditions on there. But the problem is, in order to have a small piece of property less than an acre, we're violating our own code because we don't let, and we're also violating the code that says that when it's a lakefront property, you have to have at least 60 feet of lake frontage. So there were a number of zoning issues that we would be violating. So I thought, that's odd. I've seen other cities do stuff like this. There must be something out there that I don't know about. And sure enough, there is. There is a state law that says that by ordinance, the city can declare that those kind of restrictions in land use issues only, don't apply to city lands in certain circumstances. And so we're now looking at this. We're going to take another run at the easement, the access easement. It would give the property owners one more marketable lot that they had not had before if we acquired that piece, or it would give them the one more lot with an easement on it, which they felt would be restrictive and adversely impact the possibility to market that particular piece of property. So anyway, we will continue to move forward on it. It is a requirement, and it is something that I have to show action on by October of 2021. So it's going to have to get done pretty quick. It's going to have to happen.
We've been doing this for quite a while, haven't we?
Very long time. I've been doing it since at least 2008 as chairman of the Water Quality Committee.
Not always easy.
No, it is not. So anyway, right now it is just far-reaching and actually, I thought so too.
All right, draft ordinance regarding short-term vacation rentals.
All right, and your amendments. We have draft language, which if somebody wants to see it, all I need to do is call me and ask me. I can email them or try to email them. We'll have to work on it and see. Email is still not working terrific. This is taken straight from the city of Seaside, except I did add provisions in there about the septic. I spoke with George Ellers, the sanitarian, Lane County sanitarian, and he said that there is, on the permit form, there's a little tiny box that is just a review for changes that are proposed. And so he does believe that if someone is changing a residence with 2 to 4 people or even 6 people over to a vacation rental that sleeps 11, that does put in a large demand on a system that may not be able to handle it. And so yes, he feels like he should be able to review it. And so in here, I included a provision that requires that they get that approval from the county to let us know that they believe that the septic would be okay to handle in that situation. And then I got to reading all this other stuff, and there's a whole lot of other stuff that we can add in there too. But I wanted to know how you wanted to proceed. This is not necessarily, the way it was presented is not necessarily a land use amendment, so it doesn't have to go to a CAC, but perhaps you would rather have it treated that way and put it, or you can form an ad hoc committee, because there's been a lot of interest, as you know.
I, for one, would like to see an ad hoc committee and get the information from the 2 residents, or the 2 business owners that have these, with a sit down and talk about the thing. If you remember when we had the phone in regarding this, we had 2 people that had businesses within Dune City that were doing these short-term rentals. And I know you weren't here, and they were very adamant. They had really strong contracts and things, and I'd like to have them come in and let's sit down with them and check out what, that they have. Their concern was that they were afraid that we were going, I think we're afraid that we were going to ban any kind of short-term rentals. But they were very, very much in favor of sharing the rules and regulations that they have in their profession so that we might adapt that into a code or a policy that we have. And I would like to see that.
We almost promised people that.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of good information out there. I think that's a good idea.
So I will need a counselor to be chairman of that ad hoc committee.
I'd be more than happy to.
Okay.
Well, I'm not a chairman.
Yeah, I know.
So, I am, since nobody else
Yeah,
raised
you
their
are.
hand. Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah, I would like.
Volunteers go to the front of the line.
So yes, I would be more than happy to do so.
Okay. So will you look at your schedule and tell me what days work
I'm
best for you?
actually, since I'm retired and my wife has me working on many projects, I would love to have any day that you.
Okay. Got it.
You are going to have any residents that want to,
Absolutely.
input.
I think we should get out as much information we can, get other, I would like to see residents attend that aren't necessarily in agreement with short-term rentals as well. I mean, it's always good to hear,
Both sides.
both sides of it. I'm kind of surrounded by neighbors I know and not bothered by anybody, so I would like to know from anybody that, I forget what particular, we had a particular place that was bothersome. Was it off of Cloud 9 or something? So any of those, if you know any of those.
the street from your father's property.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. So any of those people that had concerns that wrote in about it, invite them in too, so that.
I certainly
that way we
will.
can- Yeah, that way we can get both sides of it.
And the conversation also resulted in a number of property owners who own several vacation rentals in town. And they have been very helpful in putting together language.
So, yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
I would love to lead that.
Yeah.
I'll draw on up a committee.
So the next one is resolution.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, if you wish. Yeah, we don't have any people.
Okay. You're concerned about the water surrounding being contaminated by people being on the property that shouldn't be there, or renting the property or whatever, and that
All
kind of
that kind
thing.
of thing, yes.
But we let hundreds of boats come in here and wash out their motors, dump their garbage in our lake, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. I understand that they're trying to get a law passed to keep them from doing that. Anybody?
Ocean
Ocean
vessels.
boats coming out the salt water, and they come in and wash their boats out. I live right there by the boat ramp. I see it every day, every day, every day. And we're seeing 25, 30, 35-foot boats coming in here nowadays. And
They would be doing it at Woahink, except for Woahink was closed until recently.
Yeah,
Woahink had been complaining about it for years. We've been trying and trying and trying to get somebody to do something about it. And the only people who have the jurisdiction is the state. And all I can suggest is maybe we try again.
well,
We don't have any say-so over it.
No, we don't.
We
We have
try.
no say-so.
I see it all the time myself. I live on that side. I see it all the time.
well, it's, I talked to Dan, the park ranger, and he says there's a law in legislature trying to get passed. And it's been trying to get passed for several years. And they've put up a big sign down there asking people not to do it, it's against the law to do it, blah, 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 but you can't enforce it.
Because it isn't against the law at this
Yeah.
point.
So, some of the people that are worrying about these other water things around should be worrying about their drinking water right here in the lake being contaminated by the ocean people.
I think part of the problem is that a lot of people don't even know about it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not a boater or things like that, you're not even aware of some of these things that do occur. I was the port manager for 4 years, and until I got into that job, it never even occurred to me that these issues are there. And I think too, with the port being closed there for a while, a lot of places, a lot of people were looking for a place to wash their boats out and stuff, and then they come into here, and then we get that kind of contamination as well.
The county, a couple of years ago, asked me if I would write down their boat number and their license number. They said, well, if you do that, we will call them and talk to them. And they say most people who are boaters are pretty congenial about doing something correct. If they know it's bad, not supposed to do it. Some people don't even know it, I guess. They don't read the signs. So the county's aware of it, and they're went as far as to ask me to write their numbers down so they could call them.
That would be good, because we tried to get
But then
cameras put up.
But then they said, no, don't do it anymore. No, I told you to stop.
No, they just didn't do anything about it. They think I had a change in command there or something, and they didn't follow through on it.
Oh, okay. Didn't realize that was an issue. That's good.
Gary, is there Dune City did a whole bunch of signs that says drinking water source, please, that kind of thing. I know there's not one at the lake there, is there, at that boat ramp?
Work down here?
That says it's a drinking water source.
Yeah, it does,
It does say that?
but it's put up by the county. I don't know if you guys.
No, we put one
Oh,
up
did you
on
put
the
one?
county post, we had to get permission to do it.
Okay,
but we put it
yeah,
up.
there's one there that says that,
Okay.
and there's a red sign there even that says.
No boat washing.
No boat washing.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Do I understand that that's something that we're going to try again to pursue?
No, I'm not sure what we can do.
Well, I made a note here so that I can take it home. I'm going to make a few calls to people that I knew when I was at that previous job
Right.
to see what direction we can take that. I'll make some phone calls and we'll see if there, where we stand with any legislation and what happens prior. Because with all of the Clean Water Acts that Oregon has done over the years and the heavy restrictions they have coming off the river, I can't believe that there isn't something that comes over to the lakes. So anyway, I'll look at it and see.
Dune City is currently working with the Department of Environmental Quality Drinking Water Program, specifically as to Siltcliff Lake right now, and educating the people around it with regard to blue-green algae primarily, but that is a contributing factor to blue-green algae, and so maybe this is an opportunity to get the foot in the door and get that conversation started. So.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, thank you. Anything you see like that, please bring it up. I mean, I had no idea we even had an issue.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big
That's a
issue.
big issue.
Well, yeah, I would imagine. Thank you. Resolution Series 2020 number 11. Resolution approving the memorandum of understanding for fiscal year, is that another fiscal year issue, 2019 to 2020?
Did I do it again?
Yep.
No, because you want her to do the 2019, 2020 financials.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
So we're just looking at the past years.
Yeah, she needs to look at the
Yeah.
past year so that we're doing the next year correctly.
Great, okay, good. Thank you very much.
And it is the same price that we paid last year.
And this is the, Stephanie's the same one that did ours last year.
Right, because Wall and Wall shut its doors and now she's in private practice for herself.
I move approval. I read it now, it's pretty good.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none? That number 11 passes as well.
give you that? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. I ran across, well, Small Cities Along it came out with their announcement. We haven't had a Small Cities grant in 3 years, so we're kind of overdue. This is the project that I had applied for before, twice, and was,
Oh, that intersection.
yeah, that intersection, only I'm expanding a little bit further. It'd be from where Boy Scout Road meets Parkway Drive to the intersection of Parkway Drive with Hilltop. So it'd take in the whole Pirates of the Caribbean Hill,
Yeah.
where it's cracking and sliding into the creek.
And again, I'll make a resolution, or a motion to adopt this resolution. We need to have this stuff done.
The gully,
Hmm?
the gully between.
Yeah, it is a gully. There are some RVs that can't make it through there.
I'll second it.
Second. Discussion, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. Thank you very much.
I would have had reports, but it just wasn't gonna happen. We're up to here in new houses and electric and plumbing
Oh,
and
good.
building everywhere.
I sure noticed it driving around, new houses, going everywhere. That's awesome.
And given that we don't have a permit tech,
Not a problem, doesn't bother me much.
I'm getting a real education. You guys gonna miss me when I'm gone.
Yeah, that, hopefully that's not any time in the foreseeable
Yeah,
future.
what the hell are you talking about?
Just make it before election season. Right?
Took us long enough to get you trained.
Shoot, I can almost make QuickBooks work now.
You know, yeah, the only criteria is QuickBook experience. Good with your orders, Susan.
The only thing that I would ask is, since I am out of commission for quite a while, I need more volunteers for Silkus Lake because I cannot go out and do it.
Oh, for
Once
the
I get
water
out
testing?
for water testing, once I get out of this cast, I have to go in for rehabilitation. I will not be able to help out this season, so we need someone else to help out because otherwise there's a big hole without you being there that's trained. So we really need someone else. And I didn't realize it was going to be this long, but I'm just not going to be able to help this year.
Okay.
Can you just remind, I know because I was going to do it at one point, can you just remind us what's involved with that?
You go out once a month. It takes 3 to 4 hours total. You go out on the boat about an hour and a half, take all your samples, come in here, and doing the testing might take 2 hours. So at most, sometimes we can get it done quicker if we have enough volunteers to do each area that has to be done in the lab.
And this is, so you have a crew, is that right, is my recollection?
Yes.
And is the crew fairly steady, in other words, do they?
The same crew
show up
went out
regularly?
all of last year. We trained a couple additional people. They showed up once and never showed up again.
Hmm.
So we have a bare bones crew, and with me out, they won't go out in the boat without another person.
So how many actually do you typically go out with?
4.
4?
One person just drives the boat and puts down all the information, and the other people do the testing.
And you have a
Take the
boat
samples.
that's being used, is that right?
Yes.
And we finally got a full set of testing equipment for both boats, so
Correct.
they don't have to, they can go out on their own and don't have to wait till somebody
But
comes back and
I
cleans it.
haven't asked the person to take their boat out and do it because I know he would not do it without a full crew.
He would,
Oh, makes sense. Okay. And it doesn't have to be a council member.
No, it does not have to be a
So-
It's once a month,
You know, make some phone
not
calls.
hard.
Put the arm on people.
If I can learn to do it, anybody can learn to do
Thank you, Susan. Bob, anything for good of the order?
No, thanks. Nothing.
No. Glad to have you back.
Thank you, and in my absence, I gained some learning that I think might be helpful to all of you. I made the mistake of asking my doctor after my surgery how long I could milk this condition, and my wife was present. Not a good idea.
Can't do that, that's a private conversation with a doctor.
That's the
You didn't go to the right place. My place doesn't allow my husband in.
Good job. Good job.
Another good learning.
I haven't had any conversations. I've been good. I've stayed off of the phone with the governor and Wayne County people, so you probably aren't getting any threats or anything really. So this last month, but coming up, I might again. But let me know, and we'll get the. I really want to get together on the rental thing.
Okay, so you,
And I would I'd like two committees that, I'd like to be on that one with the short-term rental. And I would honestly like to start a committee on where we can sit and talk with business owners, the 9 business owners that exist in our city right now, and anybody else that would like to be involved to talk about how our city in general can raise revenue without taxing citizens, and brainstorm on how that might happen. One thing prior to doing that group conversation and forming a committee on it is we probably have to talk to legal counsel about any limitations that municipalities have in doing this. But I would really, this city will probably cease to exist in 3 years, in my math, 3 years, if we don't have a way of raising revenue, all right? And we can't continue in the fashion that we're doing. And so I would like to start those conversations because we're not going to have a good outcome of anything if we're trying to tax people, right? So I would like to spend those months trying to figure out a way to raise revenue in a different fashion and in a different manner, and see if we can't come up with something unique and different, and try to support the city and its residents off of other than taxation. Whether that's possible, I have no idea. It's just a brainstorm. So if we could start getting a hold of those business owners, I'll talk to the Olsons, and let's see if we can't get something going to where may not work. I have no idea, but why not at least try?
what time is best for them? I hate to,
Yeah, me too. I'll talk to them and find out what's good for them. You know, because they're not usually doing anything between midnight and 6 in the morning.
speak for yourself.
All right. At this point, I would.
Oh, I will tell you, I had that conversation with Ross today.
Okay.
He told me that lemonade stands, no, probably not a good idea.
Well, that's not good. Yeah, what if there's margaritas involved?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna.
You know,
I would entertain a motion to adjourn before we get too far off hand.
So
we
moved.
get that already.
Any discussion? All in
No,
favor?
sell them.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned at 6:40. Thank you very much.